Hey, what's up, besties? It's Elaine Michelle, and I'm back with episode 4 of our Teen Talk series, myself and Shay Budgets, and it's been an amazing ride. I love getting a chance to talk about things that deal with teenagers because that's about the age where we either gain our focus or we lose our focus, and we have not figured out where we need to go or where we need to be. And these are conversations that parents and teens need to be having with one another, not just by themselves, but that way they can build a team and become a unit and work that thing together. Learning is power, knowledge is power, so I definitely think it's important that people bridge those gaps. All right, so today's episode we're just gonna be talking about budgeting for your first apartment. Now, my previous video, if you guys watched that one, I did gear my video towards more of like refund checks and like living on your own and things like that. And again, I still stick by like making sure you take care of yourself first as far as like your living situation, your 4 walls and all of that. So now we're gonna get into the apartment living, preparing for your first apartment, whether you are going to be in college, staying by yourself, in college staying with a roommate, maybe you're just deciding not to go off to school and you just wanna get your first apartment. We're gonna dive into those things right about now. All right, you guys, so make sure you check out Shay's video. I don't know if I said that already, but check out her video because she has some amazing tips as well. So I moved up to my very first apartment after my freshman year, stayed in a dorm, and then I moved into what we call college style living, and that's basically where pretty much all of your amenities are covered. Rent is a little bit higher, but you don't have things that you have to worry about, and they know that because they're used to college kids literally using their refund checks to pay for things, or mommy and daddy's gonna pay. So a lot of things are a little bit different in apartment style living. Picking my apartment was really important for us. There were a lot of apartments available to us, and I'm gonna speak about college apartments first, and then I'll talk about like regular apartments as I moved into adulthood, like after college. So the apartments I looked for in college, I wanted to make sure that I could get there, and that was either with my car, I could get to school on time or wherever I needed to be, or I could take a bus, and in this case I could take a shuttle. So there were several apartment complexes that had shuttle buses. I also looked for apartments that had levels because I knew about people walking on the first floor, but I also knew about like the safety thing of it. Like, so we kind of wanted a second floor, but we didn't get that our very first one. Me and my roommates, we ended up on the bottom floor, which was kind of fun. Have a funny story about a guy coming and knocking at my window, scared the heebie-jeebies out of my roommates, and they will tell you to this day they were so mad at me, but I was like, oh my gosh, he likes me enough that he came to my window. That was then. Now I'm like, that was kind of creepy. But anyways, that's a story for another day, okay? So when I was looking, I made sure that I picked out some specific things that I wanted to have. I wanted to be able to get DirecTV if we could, because they had moved Passions from regular cable to DirecTV. It's a whole thing. So we were looking for an apartment that had close parking, so that we didn't want to be too far away from having to park from our apartment because it was all 3 girls staying there, and we didn't want to be in the back. And it was so funny, we ended up in the back of the apartment complex, which is what we didn't want, and we ended up on the back of the apartment building. Exactly not what we wanted, but we were dealt the hand that we were dealt because we ended up signing up a little late. But we got it done, got it taken care of, and that was our very first apartment. So I would definitely make sure that you check out what things that apartment includes and what you're looking for. Distance to school is definitely a big thing, because if you stay out all night or you are working at school late at night, you need to know, is there a bus that's going to get you from campus back to your apartment, cars, other people, like who's all living close to you, different things like that. That is so important. So where we ended up staying was in a more calmer parts. There were more calmer parts of the city versus right in the heart of the apartments that were right there, like literally walking distance from campus. We opted not to stay at those only because your girl had a partying problem, and I knew that if I was that close to that life, I wasn't gonna be any good. So adult decisions were made. So that was my very first apartment in college. Then I decided to move into a townhome, and we did that because I realized I needed to save a little bit more money. That was after like we got things situated with my parents, and then I kind of just wanted to change the scenery. I loved this particular townhouse, and me and my girlfriend, we got our parents to sign off on it, and we got the apartment. Now this also helped me with getting food stamps because I wasn't living in the style of apartments that I was before, I wasn't able to get the food stamps. But when I moved to this one, baby, I qualified. Okay, I already qualified with my hours at work, but then also for my rent level that I was at, like, I qualified for all of that. So I was able to get $250 a month for myself in food stamps. Ting! That's another thing, looking for food stamps, but that's a whole nother option. So yeah, I signed up for food stamps while I was in college, and I had them actually all throughout. I think so that was my sophomore year. My junior year, that was my junior year, I had the food stamps, and I actually had them for 2 years because they ended up recertifying me based on the address that I had before I moved out. So I still had some food stamps that time. But anyway, so with that one, the townhouse was a tri-level. So there was an upstairs, and it had a room over there, and essentially it had 4 rooms. So there was a room upstairs for a bedroom, and then like an extra room and a bathroom upstairs. So literally my roommate had the upstairs portion, and we didn't even, like, there was plenty of times like we didn't see each other because I, like, literally the living room was hardly ever used unless we had people coming over, and then the kitchen was so far back, like, I mean, you could really be in there and not even notice the other person. And then my, like, level was downstairs, so there were lots of times we didn't even see each other coming or going. I would look out the window and see her if her car was there, but that's about it. And I had a, like, living room area, office area down there, and then I had the bathroom, and the bathroom had the laundry room in it too. So yeah, there was a laundry room downstairs, and then I also had my bedroom over to the side. So I absolutely loved this tri-level home. Like, it was amazeballs to me, and I enjoyed staying there. But after that year, I decided to move back on to the apartments that I stayed in the very first time, because I went back to my first roommate that I had. Me and her decided that we would room together the last year and enjoy ourselves, and so we went back to that style, and I loved coming back because I got that amenity back of having the shuttle bus instead of having to go all the way to campus, park at the stadium, and then come back and, like, park it at the stadium. I was working at the bookstore, so that saved me a lot by working at the bookstore on campus, because I had the bookstore little employee pass or whatever, so I could park my car at one of the dorms and hop on a bus over there. But still, even some days that was a task. If people were already at work, I couldn't park there. Like, I couldn't move anybody out of their spot, and then I didn't have a dorm, like an actual dorm pass, so I couldn't park over there. It got to the point the security guards knew who I was, but still, that's the whole thing. So all of that played a part into me picking my apartments and things like that. And you need to know, like, what are the expenses that come with it. So not only do you need to pick a good location, you need to know, like, even though it says rent is gonna be 5 something or 6 something at the time, you still need to know what all comes with that. What amenities are you getting? Are you getting, like, full, like, the one place paid the electric bill, the water bill, and all of that stuff was all in one. And when I came back, they had internet service for free. Now, their internet was garbage, okay? Don't get it twisted. It ain't gonna be high speed, extra high speed. It was garbage, but it got me through what I needed to get through. At the time, I wasn't doing YouTube videos, so I was literally just watching different little, I don't even know what I was watching or there at the time. It was mostly just uploading pictures to Facebook. But those were things that I really had to kind of hone into and understand about picking an apartment, because even though it says that rent is cheaper, it's going to be higher for me to have my electricity bill, because I was lighting up 3 different areas all the time. And then in the winter time, I stayed in the basement. It was cold, so down there I needed to make sure that the heat and stuff was at a certain temperature. It was a whole thing. So those are things I had to ask, and I asked neighbors, like, you know, about how much are your water bills. You can even ask the company that will be providing, like, what in the area, what's the average amount that people are paying. That way you know what you're getting yourself into if you don't get into a place that covers it all already. So good thing my battery died. But anyway, so I was saying, so if you get into a place that has already covered everything, then you may not have this problem. But if you have somewhere else that you do, or you are responsible for paying those things, it's definitely a great thing to know what you're getting yourself into in the first place. Okay, so the second thing, know yourself. If you know that you eat out a lot, try not to eat out a lot, but as well as make sure that if you are on campus a lot, pack a snack, pack whatever, and fill your apartments up with food so that you're always having something to snack on in the event that something happens, you don't have enough money to get stuff on food, like on stuff on campus or whatever, because it does get expensive. I think I used to pay like $3 for like a drink that would cost you $1 at a store. Like, it was crazy. Prices are extremely high. So you want to make sure when you're going and getting your groceries and stuff that you're being mindful of things that you like actually want to eat. One thing that I did that was so wrong, this is me talking for myself. I wanted to get everything I saw that my mom had in her pantry. So like on that very first trip, we splurged, and by the end of the time that we had in our apartment, we still had like half of that stuff left, as far as like, it was like mostly like pantry items and stuff that I just saw my mom always have on hand. So like, yeah, now that I'm more adulty, I want to have that stuff, but you really just need to have your main things. I don't suggest ramen noodles if you can get away from them, but I know that's a whole thing. The sodium in them, just use a half a pack if you can. Sorry, health tip. But I do definitely say make sure you're getting like snack items that you're going to like to have, even if people come over. Like, buy the bag, the big thing of chips like the kids have, and spare them out instead of getting big bags of chips and they go stale. You forget to tie them up, you got them in your room and you ain't put them back in the bag. All that type of stuff like happens. Juices, don't be afraid to go off name brand. Try the store stuff, like get fresh foods, all that kind of stuff. I looked up, our cousin actually worked at Kroger, so we used his discount. We used to have fresh deli meat, we used to have fresh lettuce, all of that stuff, like all the time. Like, we got the hookup because he had his employee discount, so we would just tell him when it was payday or whatever, we go with him and he just put it all on his stuff. So that worked out for us. So if you got somebody that work at the grocery store, you know, see, can you get on their stuff and be a part of a employee discount? I'm just saying. So that helped us out a ton. So your food, all, like, literally, when I talk about that shuttle, like, I cannot talk about that enough. That shuttle was a lifesaver because it ran literally like every 30 minutes. So every 30 minutes you can bank on it coming back, and it stopped at the major parts of campus, and that was an essential thing. I saved a lot of gas money by riding the shuttle, and it came and left, like, I think the latest one was 6 o'clock. So there were times when I would have to go to work during the day, and I could go to work and catch the shuttle on the way back. And I got friends with the shuttle driver, so that was the whole thing. So that's all the stuff about your apartment, like as you're picking one, if you're in college and whatever. Now, if you decide not to go to school, there are some different things that you need to be mindful of. Being in a college town, you feel a little bit more safe. And when I say a college town, that's when the town basically revolves around everything that's going on in that school. So you find like the people in the community have either went to that school, graduated, retired, all of that stuff. They're all in that neighborhood. People who have stayed, graduated, had families built there, like they're still working at some entity for the university. It's literally a college town. Everything is based on what's going on at school. So college towns are a little bit different, and I know that because now I'm here in Memphis. So my difference from living in Bloomington, where everything was like solely based around us and they cared, police officers didn't take no mess from nobody because we were all like, they just wanted the school to look good, that type of thing. Baby, when you get into that real world, that real life experience, okay, it's a whole different ball game. You ain't getting no refund checks. You not getting no nothing. This rent got to come out from you every single month. So you need to get somewhere that you can afford, and not just afford, that is comfortable. I cannot say this or stress this enough. If you are moving out from underneath your parents and you've never lived on your own before, please go somewhere that is yet affordable but yet comfortable in the event that something happens. My something happening is if you decide that you don't want to work your little 9-to-5 job no more, or your 3-to-2, whatever job you have, if you decide you don't want to work that anymore, that you have a little bit of time before you just have to get something to cover your bills and all of that stuff. You want to be somewhere where you can be comfortable. Now, the second part, the caveat to that, my brother told me some really great advice that I still live by right now. You don't really spend, I mean, well, now I do, I spend a lot of time in my house, but before I wasn't spending a lot of time at home. I literally was like, I wouldn't say I was a party girl, but I like going out and being a part of the city and being a part of the things. So I didn't spend a lot of time. I worked all the time. I was at church, and then I would go out with my friends on the weekend. So people don't gotta come to your house and all that. So I said that to say this: don't get somewhere where you can't really afford because you're doing it for other people. Get somewhere that you can afford. They don't have to come to your house. You don't have to pay for them to see you living lavish or whatever unless you can afford it. If you can, by all means, get you, do you. Get me you, like, go ahead. But if you are single, you're staying by yourself, get somewhere where you feel safe. Stay at the front of an apartment. Stay by some, ask them where the older people are in the apartment complex and stay by them. You want nosy neighbors, especially if you're a girl like I was. Like, okay, clearly I was a girl. But if you are a female, it's really important that you get in some of those safer areas so that you aren't, like, people know that there's someone else watching you and that they're aware of what's going on. My apartment was broken into, my very first one down here, very first time I've ever been robbed or anything like that. And I knew that it was somebody in the vicinity who had been watching because I had been homesick all that time and no one said anything to me. So I'm like, so why all of a sudden I go back to work on Friday, I come back home and everything missing? That means somebody's been watching you. So just be really careful about your movements and things like that. But I was comfortable. So when I got ready to move, actually I ended up losing my job for some crazy stuff. But I lost that job and I had a month, but I had saved enough money that month came by and I was able to pay my rent. And then I literally made it right up until my check that I needed to get from my new job. When I finally got hired, I got a new job and that check was coming in right as my rent was being due. So because of that, I had a little bit of a cushion because I wasn't staying somewhere lavish, and I was a creature of habit, so I paid my bills, you know, the best that I could. Most of my, honestly, credit cards and stuff was probably my struggle, but like 4 walls, I've never been a person to like skimp out on my 4 walls. I'm gonna pay that stuff all the time, so I'm gonna pay something. So anyways, I said all that to say just make sure you stay somewhere where you're comfortable, safe, and that it makes sense to your pockets and not your friends' pockets, because that doesn't make sense. Getting a roommate is all well and fine. Just make sure that whoever you're staying with, don't just go off of because that's my best friend. Me and none of my best friends got along when we lived together the very first time. Like, I want to say Shira stopped talking to me for at least 3 months one time. Me and Ebony, after she moved out, we barely talked. She wasn't really a big talker anyway, so like after she moved out, we just really didn't talk that much. Then my roommate Alicia, when I stayed with her, like we got into it real heavy over my boyfriends, you know, being there all the time because he's my boyfriend. To me, it made sense to me. I'm like, whatever. To her, it was like, this a whole nother person in here, you know, what he putting in on. Now, he was helping me with my rent, so I didn't see nothing wrong with it. Whole nother story, whole nother day. But I stopped talking to her. So what I'm saying is, don't go staying with somebody that you think, oh, we just gonna get along, we best of friends, it's all this and all that. Baby, you will find out, because spending the night with somebody, going over their house and all that stuff is way different when y'all are adults and you make your own decisions, your own rules. It's a whole different thing. When y'all buying the food, you might think that that was your juice, but it really was her juice, and that'll start a whole argument. You won't talk to nobody. So be careful with the roommate situation. And if you do decide to do a roommate situation, make sure you're able to sign separate leases. The last thing you want to do is be stuck with things or be stuck with paying the whole rent because your roommate decided they wanted to go get married and stay with their man. Now that's cool and all, but you don't want to be that person that's, you know, tied to something and you really didn't have to be tied to it. Okay, so that's a part of planning for your apartment process. Okay, so then you still need to ask the questions. How much is the electricity over here? How much is the water over here? If you have gas, how much does that cost? You need to have some idea of those things. You also need to have some idea of what your housing supplies will be, detergent, personal items. All of that stuff plays a part in your apartment living, a part of your planning, because now this is your home. You have to plan for your home, not just, oh, I'm gonna just go over to my mama's house. No, when you run out of toilet paper, you can't be like, Ma, can you bring me some toilet paper? No, it's, I need to have extra toilet paper here all the time. Like, those are simple things that we forget about and we take for granted because our parents always did it. Toothpaste, little small things like that. My mom always bought toothpaste every time we went to Walmart. So I never knew that toothpaste would run out until I got in college. Like, I was like, wait a minute. There's not a backup supply. Like, I need a backup supply. So there's all sorts of things that you have to be mindful of as you're getting into your apartment situations. Just make sure that you are checking over your rent either way, the location of where you're staying at. from your job, from your parents, how far it is. I watched my niece moved all the way across town, and I was like, baby, you know we can't get to you that quickly. My brother and me stay about 15 minutes apart from each other, but he can get to me as quickly as he can. But trying to get on the interstate and get here or get across town is a little bit harder. So I found that, like, looking at what she did, I was like, okay, so the next one that come up, we're gonna make sure that they stay closer to us so that they have that family ties and that family bond. Then they can go off and be on their own and not have to worry about us. And that was the kind of thing that I like. Now, y'all know me, I still go and, like, I'll go spend the night at my brother's house at any given time. Matters not to me. But my apartment is, you know, far enough away that I feel like I'm still living my own life, but my brother is still there for me whenever I need. All right, you guys, so I rambled on. I hope you got something out of all of that. Planning for your first apartment is literally about what you're looking for and what you want, what you're trying to get done. If you're trying to save up to get a house or invest in something, get a car, don't go stay in no $1,500 apartment that you can't really afford. You need to get you somewhere in a okay neighborhood that you know, you talk to some people, check the cars out in the vicinity, see how they looking, and you stay where you're comfortable. You stay where it's going to work for you, because again, they not gonna pay your bills. Your friends that you trying to impress with your apartment, they don't pay your bills. You're gonna pay your bills. And the last thing you want to do is to have to come back home to your parents because you couldn't pay your bills. Not because you are stressed out or you just need to come back home so you can save to get a house. Not that, but coming back home because literally you've been evicted or whatever. That's a hard pill to swallow. And sometimes that will lead us to even worse situations, going to checking the cash places and all of that stuff, all because we couldn't pay our rent, because we decided to stay somewhere we didn't need to be anyway. Am I preaching today? I feel like I am. Hope you tracking with me. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you check out Shay's video, and I will catch you in the next one. Mwah! KK, bye!